The morning that changed my life, I woke up in a hotel room with blood on the sheets, an empty space beside me, and a cheap necklace in my hand. For the first time in my life, that didn't feel like a good night story I could joke about with my friends. It felt like a crime scene I'd built with my own hands. If that were you, would you be able to walk out, take a shower, throw some money on the bed, and pretend nothing happened? My name is Adam, and I'm going to tell you exactly how one night with a girl I didn't bother to know tore my life apart, exposed everything rotten in me and in the people closest to her, and somehow still turned into a story people like to call romantic. Personally, I think it's a story about how ugly desperation looks up close, how dangerous power is in the wrong hands, and how jealousy can murder the last bit of humanity in someone. You can decide for yourself by the end. Back then, I was the guy people pointed at with a mix of envy and respect. Young loaded Lagos boy with the big car, the tailored suits, the corner office, the connections. I worked hard, I'll give myself that, but I also hid behind that work like it was a wall. When night came and the office emptied, I did not go home to a wife, a kid, or quiet. I went home to a condo that echoed a mind buzzing a chest that felt hollow and a phone full of numbers that could fill a bed but not a silence. So I did what a lot of men like me do when we have more money than wisdom. I turned desire into a routine. Roadside girls, club girls, hotel rooms. No promises, no stories, no morning after. I told myself it was honest. They knew the deal, I knew the deal. Cash on the table, I leave before the sun really starts judging me. You know what I mean? It felt simple. And yet deep in that twisted mindset, I had this fantasy one day I'd meet a good girl, a pure girl, a wife who was untouched by the streets, untouched by men like me. I didn't question the double standard, didn't ask myself how a man who treated women like disposable comfort somehow believed he deserved someone clean. I just carried that hypocrisy around in a nice watch and cologne. While I was playing God with my money at night in a small village called Badai, 3 sisters were running out of options. I didn't know their names then. Chloe, Sophie, Olivia, orphaned broke, hanging on to each other because there was nothing else to hold on to. Chloe, one of the twins, worked as a clerk in the city. Little salary, long hours, big pride. Sophie, the other twin, fragile kind, always pushing through some discomfort. Olivia, the youngest, 24, soft-hearted and stubborn, the kind of girl who still believed in goodness, even when life did not give her any reason to. Then Sophie collapsed. Panic. Hospital. White walls that don't care if you're crying. Doctors with calm voices saying words like severe heart condition, urgent surgery, you need to pay the deposit first. No money, no procedure, simple. Olivia turned to Chloe like anyone would. Please talk to your office, take a loan, do something. Let's figure it out. Chloe refused. Too risky, she said. Too dangerous for her job, her reputation. In her mind, the salary that barely kept them afloat was more important than gambling on debt. That was the moment the line shifted. Olivia looked at Sophie, hooked up to machines. She looked at her proud, closed-off sister clutching her bag, and she decided if no one was going to sacrifice for them, she would. That night, she opened Chloe's old box of city clothes, pulled out a tight dress shoes that didn't belong on her feet, makeup that didn't belong on her face. She stood in front of the mirror and didn't recognize herself. It wasn't sexy. It was war paint made of shame, but she wore it anyway. She walked out to the roadside and put a price on herself just once, just enough to save her sister. Imagine that. Imagine how far someone has to be pushed to stand under those streetlights and pretend they're there by choice. This is where I come in. I was driving that night, restless, chasing that feeling I kept mistaking for power. I saw her. She looked out of place, pretty nervous too still. I pulled up. How much for the night, I asked, like I was ordering food. She hesitated. That tiny crack in her voice should have told me everything. She named a price only once, like she just wanted to get it over with. I didn't ask why. I didn't ask who she was. I saw an opportunity, not a person. In the car, I did my usual thing. Light jokes, hand on her knee, testing her reactions. She wasn't playing along, didn't flirt back, didn't lean in. She was stiff eyes somewhere far away. At the club, she looked lost, wouldn't drink, didn't know how to exist in that world. I kept nudging, kept insisting until finally she took a drink, then another. Then her body started failing her the way her life already had. We went up to the room, and this is the part that still crawls under my skin when I try to sleep. She told me clearly more than once that she wasn't what I thought. She said she wasn't a prostitute. She said she was a virgin. She said she just needed the money so her sister wouldn't be thrown out. She was drunk, scared, talking through tears. I told myself she was just saying that because girls say things. I told myself she'd taken the money so she knew why she was there. I told her to stop talking, pointed at the payment on the table like that settled everything. I wanted what I paid for. That's the ugly truth. I wish I could dress it up for you, but I'm not going to. What happened in that room wasn't romantic. It wasn't equal. It was me with all the power ignoring the one thing she had left while convincing myself I wasn't that kind of man. She tried to pull back. I pushed forward. She said she was a virgin. I didn't believe her. I put on protection like that somehow made me responsible. She bled. She fell asleep or passed out. I did too. When I woke up, she was gone. She left the envelope, took just enough to run. The bed, the sheets, my hands, all stained. And on the floor, that necklace. Small, simple, clearly precious to her. It hit me harder than anything in that room. Everything she'd said came back in one wave. I checked the sheets again, checked myself, checked the condom. I sat down and I knew. She'd told me the truth. I just chose not to hear it. If it were you, what would you have done in that moment? Shrug it off as another story in your highlight reel, or feel like the floor just dropped out from under you? I panicked. Then I felt sick. Then I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, shame. I grabbed the necklace, drove back to that same spot. Night after night for 2 weeks, I circled that road, asked the other girls, described her face. Nobody knew her. Nobody had seen her. No name, no number. Just this weight in my pocket and in my chest. I stopped seeing other women. Not because I turned holy overnight, but because every time someone smiled at me in that way, all I could see was Olivia's face when she said I just needed the money. Then came the mistake that turned into the twist. One afternoon, my friend Leo showed me a picture on his phone. "Check this girl out, she's fire," he said. I almost brushed him off, then I saw her face. Same features, same eyes, same kind of beauty. Name Chloe. Profile, professional office clothes, phone number listed. It felt like fate throwing me a rope. I called. No answer. Called again the next day. This time she picked up. I apologized like a man on trial. "I've been looking for you. I'm sorry about that night. I didn't understand. You left your necklace behind. I want to make it right." There was a pause. Then a quiet, shaky voice said she remembered that she was embarrassed that she'd been desperate. Pattern interrupt. It wasn't her. Chloe was Olivia's older sister. The same sister who refused to risk a loan. The same one who had the job, the Facebook, the phone number. When she realized I was rich, guilty, and confused, she slipped into that story and wore it like a custom dress. We met at the mall. She acted humble, wounded, grateful. I handed her the necklace. She didn't flinch. I believed what I wanted to believe. I told her I didn't want her on the street anymore, that I would help her stay off that life. She spun a lie about an aunt threatening to throw her out. So I did what rich, guilty men do. I wrote a big check. Enough for a house, a shop, a clean start. I thought I was saving the girl I'd hurt. In reality, I was rewarding the sister who'd watched Olivia walk into that night and let her do it. While Chloe moved into a new place and opened a business, Olivia and Sophie stayed in their small home, still struggling, still paying for that hospital bill, still trying to breathe. Chloe cut them off, acted like she'd found her way. Do you think that's fair? I tried to shake off the feeling that something was wrong, but it bothered me. The way Chloe talked didn't match the girl from that room. The energy was off. But I'm human, and humans love lies that make them feel better about themselves. Life went on, until my cleaner quit. My office got messy. I told my secretary, "Get a new cleaner, just make sure they actually show up." Next day, I'm on a call mid-sentence when this girl slips into the office with a broom and bucket, apologizing softly for being late. She goes around the desk, clips of file papers fall. I bend down to pick them up. She bends down too. Our heads bump. We both look up. And I see her. The girl from that night. Olivia. Her eyes go wide. She freezes, then scrambles up, mumbling, "I'm sorry, sir. I'll leave, please. I'm sorry." And that panic in her voice hits me harder than any punch. "Wait," I tell her. My hands shake. "Why are you here? I gave you money. I set you up with a shop." She stares at me completely lost. "A shop, sir? I don't understand. I just came for the cleaning job. Please let me go." My phone rings. It's Chloe. I pick up, say, "I'll see you tonight, darling," on autopilot, eyes still locked on Olivia's face. I hang up and suddenly the whole puzzle rearranges itself. "Sit down," I tell Olivia softer. "Please." I ask her if she has sisters. She says yes, Chloe and Sophie. I ask her name, Olivia. I show her Chloe's Facebook photo. "This is who I thought you were. This is who I gave your money and your necklace to." She looks at the screen and the hurt that flashes through her eyes tells me the rest. "She took it," she whispers. "She said a rich man mistook her for me. She never told me the truth." Right there, that's the twist. The girl I violated to save her sister's life was now scrubbing floors, broke, almost homeless. The sister who pushed her to desperation was living my apology. If you were me in that moment, what would you have done? I apologized again. Not the smooth kind. the choking, stumbling kind. I told her I'd been searching, told her I should have listened, told her I had wronged the wrong people again. She tried to shrug it off. You paid. I agreed. It's over. But her voice broke around the edges, and I knew it wasn't over for her at all. Then I found out she was about to be thrown out of her place because the rent hadn't been paid since Chloe left. That was it. I wasn't going to abandon her a second time. You're not going back there, I told her. Pack your things. You're coming with me. I'll help you stand on your own. She panicked, asked what I wanted in return, asked if this was about buying her again, and I get it. A rich man offering a poor girl a place to stay has a very specific meaning most of the time. So I said it clearly, no. You're safe. I'll help you find an apartment. No strings. At my house, she walked in like she was entering a museum where she didn't belong. She offered to cook, to clean, to sleep in the corner. I told her we'd figure it out, that she was a guest, not a servant. She didn't believe me at first. It took time. We started talking. Not just surface talk, real talk. She told me about her parents' death, about holding Sophie through fevers, about asking Chloe for help and hearing no. She told me how it felt to stand on that roadside shaking, how she'd had to numb herself just to get in my car. She told me she grabbed the money, ran to the hospital, didn't even look back at the hotel. I told her about my empty life, my habits, my arrogance, my fantasy about a pure wife. How twisted it was that I thought I deserved someone like her while I was breaking women who had fewer choices than I'd ever have. She listened. Sometimes she laughed at my dumb logic. Sometimes she cried for her younger self. Somehow, slowly, we became human to each other. I wanted her, but I kept my distance. For the first time, wanting didn't mean taking. Then came the day Chloe showed up. She walked into my house like she owned it, demanding why I'd shut her out, why I had her sister there. Right there, I laid it out. I know, Chloe. I know you lied. I know you took her place, her necklace, her money. I know I was trying to fix what I did to Olivia, not you. I don't owe you anything. Her face hardened. She tried to drag Olivia out, accuse her of stealing me. I stepped between them. Leave, I said, and don't come back. She left with a promise that she'd deal with it. People say things like that all the time. Most of the time it's empty. This time it wasn't. Next move she made was going to the village, digging up uncles and aunts who had never helped those girls when they were starving, and spinning them a story that I had stolen Olivia, that it was shameful for her to live with me unmarried, that they needed to come drag her out. So they came. A small crowd of offended tradition and hungry eyes into my living room, telling me it was wrong for a young woman to live with a man who wasn't her husband. Here's where I surprised them. And myself. You're right, I said. I want to marry her. Silence. Olivia staring at me like I'd just set her on fire and poured water at the same time. The uncles and aunts suddenly all smiles. They invited me to the village to collect the marriage list. Chloe's plan flipped in her face. Stick around, because what happened next will blow your mind. We started planning. I tried to do everything right this time. Olivia was hesitant, scared, hopeful. I gave her space. Told her I wanted to marry her, but only if she said yes for herself, not because of pressure from me or her relatives. Then Chloe made her ugliest move yet. She called Olivia and told her I had HIV, said I was hiding it, said that was why I slept around, why I acted strange. It played right into the fear anyone would have given my past. Olivia planned to confront me. But before she could, she overheard me on the phone sounding urgent, telling someone I was very sick, asking them to bring medicine quickly. She didn't hear the rest. That I was talking about my uncle who was ill and needed treatment so he could attend our wedding. Half the story plus a lie equals proof. That night she packed her bag. I caught her at the door, asked where she was going with tears in her eyes. She said, I can't marry you. You lied. You're sick. You didn't tell me. You wanted me to stay here with you while hiding something that could kill me. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was insane how twisted everything had gotten. Then I slowed down and explained the truth. The medicine, my uncle. How easy it was to hear one line and jump. Then I said something that hurt us both. If you trust Chloe more than you trust me after everything we've been through, if you truly think I would do that to you, then go. I'm not chaining you to me with fear. I walked away. She followed me. She dropped the bag, held me from behind, shaking, apologizing. Told me she was scared, told me she was so used to people lying that the lie felt more believable than the truth. That night, when we were finally close again, it was different. No money on the table, no desperation. Just two damaged people actually choosing each other fully awake. We got married. On our wedding day, I hired tight security because if life had taught me anything by then, it was that jealousy doesn't RSVP. Chloe tried to cause trouble. She didn't succeed. We said our vows. For a moment, it looked like a perfect redemption arc. Then a month into our marriage, Olivia woke up from a nightmare where she saw me buried alive. She clung to me, begged me not to go to work. I kissed her, told her it was just a dream that I had to go. Bills, responsibilities, life. On the road, I saw two men fighting in front of my car. I honked. They kept going. I stepped out to break it up. Bad move. Guns came out. They pushed me into the bush, beat me, tore at my clothes. Chloe stepped out of the shadows. Calm, cold. She said if she couldn't be happy, Olivia wouldn't either. She watched them force me into a shallow grave, watched them shovel dirt over me while I choked. Yeah, that happened. What saved me were two strangers with more conscience than everyone else in this story combined. They saw enough to know something was wrong, waited till the others left, dug me out, dragged me to a hospital. I spent days drifting between worlds. Olivia spent those days calling my phone, going to the police, living her nightmare. When I woke up, I called my uncle from the hospital, told him everything, begged him to keep Olivia with him safe and not to tell anyone where I was until we had the people responsible. Chloe, thinking I was dead, called Olivia, pretending to be worried, secretly happy. She didn't know death doesn't always stick. After I was strong enough, I went to my uncle's house. When Olivia saw me, she broke. I'm not going to dress that up either. It was raw. She hit me, hugged me, cried into my chest, then held my face like she wasn't going to let me out of her sight again. Then she told me she was pregnant. I can't explain that feeling. A new life born out of so much darkness. The next day with the police, we went to Chloe's house. She opened the door and saw me standing there. Shock doesn't begin to cover it. I didn't give her time to spin. The police took her in. She led them to the men she'd hired. They confessed. There was a trial. She and her accomplices were sentenced to life. People heard the story and said justice. But let me ask you something, and I really want you to answer this down in the comments, not just listen and move on. Was it justice? A woman consumed by jealousy and greed is in prison. Yes, that's consequence. But what about the world that cornered Olivia into selling her body to save a life in the first place? What about men like me who use money like a shield and pretend the choices desperate people make around us are free? What about families who show up to demand bride price but disappear when hospital bills need paying? What about a system that only starts working for a poor girl once there's a wealthy man attached to her story? Today I have a wife I love, a son who looks like me, a home that feels full. I helped Olivia open a real shop of her own, something solid in her name, not as hush money, but as a foundation she can stand on if one day she decides she doesn't want me in the picture. I don't pick up strangers on the roadside anymore. I don't throw cash at brokenness and call it balance. But the truth is, no matter how happy our ending looks on camera, I can't rewrite that first night. I can't give her back what she sold under pressure. I can't erase the fact that my guilt took a detour through her sister's greed before it finally reached the person who paid the highest price. So I'm asking you, do you think people like me deserve redemption after that? Do you think Chloe's sentence is enough or too much? If it were you, Olivia, or me, or Sophie watching, what would you have done differently? Where does responsibility really start and end in a story like this? Tell me in the comments. Argue with me. Call me out if you feel like it. Or tell me if you've seen something like this in your own life. Jealousy between siblings, rich men taking advantage, families treating daughters like bargaining chips, people judging girls on the street without knowing what pushed them there. If this story made you feel anything, anger, hope, confusion, whatever it is, share it with someone. Hit like so more people see it. Subscribe if you want to hear more real stories that don't hide the ugly parts. And most importantly, drop your truth below. I've told you mine. Now I want to hear yours.